Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another edition of NFL Dynasty Picks. We're coming off Week 13, going to Week 14. That means 4 games left. Then we're going into the postseason. Let's see which teams are going to be able to make it. Week 13 was kind of disappointing. It was a week of a lot of upsets. We'll get into that a little bit more later, but we're going to come off right to break. Started off with one game talking about it's going to be an AFC North divisional game. The Cleveland Browns travel to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Negative. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
we're not going to talk more about that game because for some reason I thought it was Cincinnati, but it was Cleveland, and because of that, all three of us decided the Pittsburgh Steelers were going to defeat the Cleveland Browns. The game we're going to talk about is Cincinnati, but they're hosting against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Cincinnati's hosting against the Cincinnati Bengals.
The Houston Texans.
We are sleepy individuals.
Apparently, no, I'm not sleepy. I'm distracted. But the Houston Texans facing the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay, who's at home?
Cincinnati's at home.
You sure?
They're in Ohio.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Still a pretty good offense, but I don't think TJ Yates beat Cincinnati. Well, Cincinnati.
I'm going to have to agree with Phil on this one. I just think the Cincinnati Bengals right now, who are trying to fight for any kind of playoff implications, need this game more than Houston. Houston is trying to stay alive. They have the #1 seed, but unfortunately, they're on a downward spiral, but they still have playoff chances in there. So I'm glad to go with Cincinnati. They're a little bit hungry on this one.
I like to pick Cincinnati. I disagree about Houston being on a downward spiral. I don't know where that's coming from, but it seems like they're winning games, but they're not going to win this one. Cincinnati.
Tampa Bay goes to Jacksonville. All of us believe Tampa Bay can defeat the Jacksonville Jaguars. Minnesota travels to Detroit. All three of us like Detroit at home, as well as New England to go over to Washington and give Washington another disappointing loss. Kansas City versus the New York Jets.
Kansas City versus the New York Jets. Okay, I'm going Jets. Kansas City, I think, won on a fluke in Chicago. So I don't think that fluke continues in New York.
The week before that, they had an impressive game. I mean, albeit a loss, but they played the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they actually tried to stay in that game. Now, of course, the Pittsburgh Steelers are your future Super Bowl champions, so they couldn't do but so much.
They had an impressive game against Pittsburgh. They have an impressive game against, an impressive quarter against the New England Patriots. I think that kind of says the Patriots are going to be the Steelers in the playoffs. I just see that as something different. They're throwing the kitchen sink because they don't have enough healthy talent left on the field. So they're coming up with gimmick gadget plays everywhere. They're real nice to look at. They're real entertaining. I just don't see them winning against quality opponents.
Okay, well, I'm going to go with the Jets also. Kansas City is doing some impressive things. However, Jets, just like the Bengals, are trying to fight for them playoff implications. Therefore, they need it a little bit more. They're not doing as well as they wanted to be. They keep going this back and forth thing they got going on. I don't know why, but I got the Jets defeating the Chiefs this Sunday.
I'm going with the Jets, even though I do not think they are I don't think they're a good team. They only had 260 yards of offense last week. Somehow scored 34 points. Even though they had 260 yards. I mean, I know how, but I don't want to go into
power of Grossman compelled.
As the power of the fact they were facing the Washington Redskins, it was a nice little scrimmage game.
Power of Grossman.
Scrimmage. They almost lost that scrimmage.
But, they almost lost to the Redskins. They beat Rex Grossman.
You're right. That is embarrassing.
Go with the Jets.
Okay, going with the Jets. Atlanta goes over to Carolina. Mind you, we have not picked against each other yet, and continually not to pick against each other. We all picked Carolina to defeat the Atlanta Falcons at home.
3-game win streak, we were predicting. They would have.
New Orleans and Tennessee. The first game we seem to have a disagreement on is Joel decided he wanted to smoke something before he came on to the shoot and picked the Tennessee Titans to defeat the New Orleans Saints. Where Phil and I, who like to stay drug-free, has picked the New Orleans Saints. Indianapolis goes to Baltimore to continue their losing streak against Baltimore. The three of us once again picked the Baltimore Ravens to win that one. Philadelphia travels to Miami. Philadelphia, believe it or not, still has playoff implications.
They do? They're 4-8?
Yes, they do.
And are they fourth in the division?
Win and help. No, they are not. As I keep reminding these Washington Redskins fans out there, they're tied with the Washington Redskins. However, tiebreaker rules apply here, as the Philadelphia Eagles have already defeated the Washington Redskins. Therefore, Philadelphia is technically number 3, Washington's number 4. Philadelphia's not in the basement. I'm just explaining this to the fans because
they're
we don't have a lot
from the basement to the dining room.
Who's the last place in the NFC East?
The Redskins.
There's nothing else to discuss. Philadelphia goes over to Miami Dolphins, a red-hot Miami Dolphins who's been like a completely different team the last 4 or 5 weeks. Even though the games they did lose before, they were always pretty close.
All right, so
Miami was one of my sleeper teams at the beginning of the year.
Pennsylvania fan, do you think that the Eagles can get over themselves and band together and win this game?
Michael Vick is returning. So is Macklin. I do not see myself being a Pennsylvania fan as much as I am somebody from the state of Pennsylvania. I do believe Philadelphia has a chance to still go to the playoffs. They have to win out, and they need some help, unfortunately, now. Before, they did not necessarily need that help. It's likely, but not very likely. I do believe this week they can defeat the Miami Dolphins and begin that hump.
I'm taking Miami.
Okay. And as I already said, I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Shocking.
Very shocking.
I'm going with Miami. Mitchell Richardson found his stride. I mean, he's actually running the ball successfully, which is what he was wanting the league to do. But actually, for the first time in his career, he's actually doing it. So I think Rich Bush and Miami's success will continue this week. Hopefully, my asshole Miami fans at work don't watch this video, but I'm going with Miami.
Okay, Indianapolis goes over to, I already said that, Chicago. Travels down to Denver. Joe, once again, wants to pick against us and see he picks the Chicago Bears to defeat the Denver Broncos, where Phil and I picked the Denver Broncos to defeat the Chicago Bears. Phil and I have pretty much picked it on every single game the same, with the exception of Philadelphia Miami. That might come down to it this week. San Francisco travels to Arizona. All three of us believe the San Francisco 49ers are going to defeat the Arizona Cardinals. Buffalo to San Diego.
You know, if I was in Buffalo's front office, I'd be really pissed about giving Ryan Fitzpatrick that multi-million extension he just got, because he's been funking it up ever since then. And that's been like a trend with NFL players this season. As soon as they get the big money, they just kind of suck. But that's all I have to say. I'm not trusting Buffalo no more this season. I'm going with San Diego.
I'm going to have to go with San Diego too. I'm going to have to agree with Phil again. And that's only because North Turner's job is in serious jeopardy. Do I believe that he has a chance of retaining his job even with this victory? No, but he has to do something out there, and they're going to try to keep doing it. It is time for a change. That's why he's pretty much still going to lose his job, but he's going to have to go out fighting and swinging. So he's going to get them to be able to defeat these Buffalo Bills come Sunday.
Philip Rivers and Ryan Fitzpatrick, my two fantasy football quarterbacks. Out the Greenbelt Juggernauts who just got kicked out of the playoffs. I chose to pick Ryan Fitzpatrick this week because Philip Rivers screwed me over every week this season. Then finally. But
we put 38-13 finally.
But I'm going to go with San Diego because Buffalo is not very good.
We seem to be picking the same games. You missing 2 and you missing, well, actually 3 with me, but 2 overall. You missing 1. I don't know what's wrong with you two. I guess y'all want to jump on the bandwagon, but I don't think it's going to save y'all this week.
Bandwagon? You picked
right.
Anyway, San Francisco, Arizona, I didn't talk about before. We all picked San Francisco, but I believe I did. Oakland, Green Bay. We all picked Green Bay to continue their undefeated streak by defeating the Oakland Raiders, who unfortunately needed this victory because they lost last week, but they're going to have to go with 2 losses in a row. St. Louis and Seattle, Monday Night Football game. We all picked Seattle Seahawks to defeat the St. Louis Rams. Final game we're going to talk about is the NFC East rivalry. Start off with a rivalry. Now we're going to end with a rivalry. The New York Giants faces the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm doing one for you. Who are you picking?
I am picking the New York Giants to go over the Dallas Cowboys this Sunday. I'll explain why after you pick the reason why you think the New York Giants are going to go over Dallas Cowboys, because I know you're going to hop on the bandwagon.
I was, but now I'm going to pick Dallas just to be in spite. You know,
okay, don't be upset when New York Giants win.
I am going to be upset. It's just a, yeah.
Just have a chance.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Dallas.
Okay. Do you have any particular reason?
No, just because you're picking New York.
Alright, so I'm going to go with the New York Giants. They also, once again, just like a lot of teams, this is make or break for a lot of these teams. A lot of these teams are in that basement where the Washington Redskins are. They need to climb out of the basement if they hope to see a postseason. New York Giants.
Giants won it. What, number 2 in the division?
They're number 2 in the division because the other 2 teams, unfortunately, have this horrible record. The New York Giants, much like their counterparts in the AFC, the New York Jets have been showing signs of life and then signs of death. Last week they did a very, very good game, came the closest to any team in the NFL so far this season to defeat the Green Bay Packers. However, just like any other team, they just could not get it done. The New York Giants, however, if they play like they did against Green Bay last week, which is not a guarantee, they can definitely defeat these Dallas Cowboys, who still are, to my guess, is still a fluke team that shouldn't even really be on top of any division, let alone the NFC East. But what the Giants will do is help the Philadelphia Eagles solidify their spot by defeating the Dallas Cowboys this Sunday. So I'm going to go with the New York Giants.
With this game coming up between 2 NFC East foes, I must say.
Or NFC least.
I must say that I have to admit that the NFC East is not a good division.
Not this time around.
Not very good at all.
Well, the last decade, NFC East hasn't really been that good division. Dallas does pretty well one season. Giants been doing pretty well one season. I guess the Redskins are the only ones that hold back. They haven't had a good season yet. Philadelphia consistently has good seasons. They won 7 of the last 10 NFC East championships. But I digress as our cameraman. But anyway, go ahead, John. You said what about the Redskins?
No, I said about the Eagles.
I thought you said something about the Redskins.
It sounded like he said something about the 4-8 Philadelphia Eagles.
Why don't you talk about the 4-8 Washington Redskins?
Because they're not really worth.
You're right, they're not worth mentioning. Go ahead, New York Giants, Dallas Cowboys. We're not talking about Philly or Washington. We're talking about Philly has done something to Dallas and Washington and New York that no other daggone NFC East team is able to do. They beat every team in the division. No NFC East team is able to do that.
This year?
This year. No other NFC East team.
So
Philadelphia defeated the Giants, Philadelphia Eagles defeated the Cowboys, and the Philadelphia Eagles have defeated the Washington Redskins. New York is not.
So their last year's Oakland Raiders.
I think you're missing the point of what I'm trying to say. Of the 4 victories that y'all mentioned, 3 of them has been against NFC East teams. I digress.
Come on.
Go ahead.
I mean, I think that's a viewpoint.
So who did they sweep?
They're not going to go to the playoff.
Yeah, that's something about it.
So how did they get all 4 wins against NFC East division? They beat themselves too?
No, they have not played the Washington Redskins or the Dallas Cowboys again yet. They will. They play the Washington Redskins at the end of the season. Sir,
I mean, if I could pick
Giants
a tie,
or the Cowboys?
If I could pick a tie, I would. I mean, I don't like either one of these teams. They're not very good. And
go for the tie.
So
we can see clips of Donovan McNabb saying, I don't know what the tie means. Need a quarter?
Giants. Because I like Manning right now.
You don't like Manning, so you're going to hop on the Chris bandwagon. You're going to pick the New York Giants. That's fine.
That's nothing to do with you.
Yeah, tomorrow. All right, that's it for this week. Last week, when I watched Week 13, I noticed that was the shortest week we have ever done at 16 minutes and some change. Most of them average out to 25 to 32 minutes, but last week was 16. That's amazing. I guess you two are starting to waver a little bit because y'all been losing to me. Last week's results, Joe and Phil were tied in second place with 9 wins and 7 losses. Chris took the lead with 9 wins and 7 losses. Bad week for everybody, but...
How do you take the lead with 9 wins and 7 losses?
Because I'm Chris, and the most important thing is, with that being said, Phil now is at 108 victories and 66 losses. Joe's at 109 victories and 65 losses. I am well ahead in first place with 110 victories and 64 losses. Thank you again for all your support. Thank you again for making sure that I stay on top in these last 4 weeks as I keep that #1 spot going into the postseason. So
let's go Tennessee.
Tennessee.
I'm still win the Super Bowl.
I think Tennessee's the reason how come I won last week. But anyway. Yeah, I know. You picked them against New Orleans. Good luck. Yeah, that's going to be the reason why you lose. Dallas is going to be the reason why you lose. I want y'all to remember this, because the reason how come I actually kept here last week was because, bear with me, folks, I picked an upset. Houston beat Atlanta. That's why. They picked Atlanta, I picked Houston. Anyway, in the meantime, for Phil, for Joe, I'm Chris. Thank you for watching. See you next week.